Okay, so as you can see, we have a bit of a safe house here. I have picked a storage bin to give you a location on it. We are in West Point on the southeast side right now. Now, the focus is going to be on how we are going to go about prepping this for long-term survival. And one of the many needs that you have for long-term survival is water, hydration. Now, it's raining right now, and I already have a few carpentry levels. And this is going to be the thing with your own playthroughs as well, because you've had a little bit of time to survive already. You might already have a bit of existing knowledge. Maybe your occupation helps you along with this. My occupation is carpenter, so I have some carpentry levels. If we're thinking long-term survival, carpenters are one of the best for this, because they can just build some of this stuff you'd otherwise have to spend some time learning. So what I would like to build is a rain collector. Need 4 garbage bags. We have some of those. Now, obviously, this isn't going to collect clean water. It's going to collect tainted water. Well, I got to take them all out individually. Okay. But that's okay. It's going to give us the water collection that we need, and then we can purify it. You also have the option of collecting water dispensers, and we'll cover that in a little bit more detail here in a moment. But first, let's get this rain collector built. You can see I need level 3 carpentry for this, which I have already. I either need 4 garbage bags or 1 tarp, whichever. Both work. And this is the second of the 2 options. The other option would be to get to level 5 and build a barrel, which will be better, has higher capacity. But for now, a crate will work. Now this will fill up. You can see here, I have 400 liters capacity. I will gradually fill up as it rains, and I will just gain passive water. I also has these troughs here, which you can see are filling up, but that's going to be for the use of our animals. And again, we'll mention that here in a little bit. In case you don't know how to purify water already, basically you can boil it, so cook a container of water until it becomes non-tainted. It will show as tainted at first. So you can just boil that off. It's usually the easiest way to do that. Now, you can see here I have an empty dispenser bottle. Now, these can be collected from water dispensers. And these are great to collect while you're out and about. Again, we're talking preparing for the long term here, right? We've got a rain collector that's collecting stuff that we can purify. But we're also going to need ready drinkable water. And more importantly, somewhere to place that clean water when we've purified it. So, in this little office here, the edge of the complex, I believe there's a water dispenser. Yep. Now, this one is currently in use, and it's partially full. And I do need one for my base. So I'm just going to pick this up. If for any reason you can't pick these up, it's probably because you're carrying too much already, and you just need to drop a little bit of weight. Easiest way to do that would be to drop my backpack. And that would usually work just fine. So I'm going to take this back to my base just so it's a bit easier to use. And you'll notice you want to keep an eye out as well while you're carrying heavier items. Not only is it damaging my health a little bit here, but I'm also gaining a bit of muscle strain. So you do just want to be careful. Just keep an eye on it. Should be fine as long as you don't do it for too long. So now we have water in my base. And while we're here, we're going to fill up my drinking bottle. But we have another empty container. So I need to go and fill this up. Now, we are 11 days into this playthrough, and to my knowledge, the water has not yet run out. But even as it has, water containers like sinks, baths, toilets, anything like that will hold some water even after the water runs out. It's like the stuff that's remaining in the pipes, right? So we're going to go and find tap. I believe there's one just next door at this little diner. We're going to fill this dispenser bottle, and then we've got one spare as well. And it's a good idea to do this before the water goes off, right? Because it's just free, clean water. We don't have to worry about purifying it. It's just saving us a bit of time. There we go. Get rid of him. And our dispenser bottle. If you really want to help reduce the weight of something as well, like a dispenser bottle, just equip it, and it will cut down the weight of the item. Especially if you equip it in like your secondary slot, I can still use a one-handed weapon in my main hand slot. Try the other door here. This one's locked. Locked. So I think we're going to have to break in. There is a chance that this will set off an alarm, which would be my luck. But it looks like we're okay on this one. Get this door open. Now, the water, like I say, I think it's still running. Yep. So it's going to fill it all the way to the top. And then we'll take this home with us. Now, while this is filling up, there's something else that we need to think about already. The water is done now. This is basically it. All you need to do is either when you're looting offices, look out for water dispensers. They'll often be in places like fire departments, police stations, office blocks. Anywhere where you would think there's an office environment somewhere, there's a good chance there is a water dispenser with a bottle that you can take from it just by right-clicking it. But that's really all we need to do, is build a rain collector, collect water dispenser bottles. Your other option is if for any reason you can't build a rain collector yet, you can put large containers outside in the rain. So things like pots, cooking pots, bowls, anything like that will collect water while it rains. And that's basically it. But there's already something else that I want to consider. And that's fuel next. Fuel is going to be a big one for us. It is probably one of the most important things that you need to think about. Because eventually, the power's going to run out, right? Power's going to switch off. And if you haven't got a generator up and running by that time, all of your fresh food is going to rot. So we need to think about that sooner rather than later. And we have a bit of a plan as to how we're going to deal with that. Now, I've already gotten pretty lucky, and I have a generator magazine, so I know how to use this generator. I already know how to use it. That said, the generator magazines are some of probably the rarest items in the game. They're very much sort of like you'll find people are looking for them for weeks at a time. I actually got incredibly lucky. We found one in the containers I think we were going to base in, and then I think we found two more in this complex, just in this complex alone. I don't know if there is something to do with this place that spawns more generator mags. But yeah, consider that a heads up. Check on the storage bins, I suppose. I'm going to grab some drinks. Some food before we head out. Okay. If you didn't know already, generators, you can operate these now with either having the generator magazine, which I already have. If you don't have that, or you can't find it, you can now operate generators from reaching level 3 in electrical. If you have level 3, you do not need the generator mag anymore. It's considered like you've learned it inherently because you have learned enough in the electrical trade. So the alternative is to get the skill books and then collect digital watches off of zombies like these. And you'll see, just from me dismantling this electrical watch, I've got the 3 times multiplier, which is the maximum as standard. We're going to dismantle this. We're at 13.5 XP right now. Dismantling 1 watch will get me up to 15 XP. Okay? And you can either just collect watches from dead zombies, radios, tapes, that sort of thing. And that will allow you to gradually build towards that level 3 in electrical that you need to operate a generator. Okay? Once we've done this, we need to think about 2 things. We need to think about fuel. And we need to think about securing a source of fuel after the power goes out, because one of the tricks, or sorry, things that new players kind of neglect sometimes, or you know, don't think about, is that not only is your power going to run out, but the gas station's power is going to run out. Therefore, you can't use the fuel pumps. Now, how can we get around this? The easy solution is just to hook up a generator at the gas station. So what we're going to do, I know somewhere in here, there it is, we have an extra generator. So we're going to grab this extra generator. And the thing is, if you find more generators around the place, like if we found one in here, right, I could just go to my map and we could find a little symbol like this one here and just add a little symbol here on my map and say generator, right? And then I know I can come back to this location later when it suits me to collect this generator, and just note them down as you go around, as you explore the map, and note down where you find these extra jennies, because now we're going to take this over to the gas station and hook it up. I've already got a can with a little bit of gas in it. So we're going to drive this down to the local gas station and just hook it up at the pumps. If my car will start. There we go. We had a bit of an incident, shall we say, with ragdoll physics on this one, where I plowed into a zombie. It got stuck on the bonnet and then went under the front wheels and completely trashed the entire front of my car and caused me to do a flip. Which ragdoll mechanics are just incredible. Okay, so we have a little bit of gas and a generator here. So this generator, we're going to drop this just here. We're going to connect it up. Now, you won't be able to do the connection step unless you have the generator knowledge from the magazine or from level 3 electrical. That's now connected. We're going to take this gas can and we're going to fill it up. Now, I believe the electricity is still on right now. So with that in mind, I am just going to fill up the gas can. I'm going to top this thing up entirely. So the goal here is to make sure that this generator will run for a good while. I don't need to do this, but might as well. The thing is, this generator doesn't need to run all the time either. So it's now 100% fuel. But I can just turn this on when I come by. I don't need to have this generator on all the time. I can just switch it on when I come by for fuel. And that will mean that you pretty much never have to worry about the condition of the generator. Now, something that's a bit more prominent in build 42 than it was in build 41 is that gas station supplies will eventually run out. In build 41, it wasn't something you really needed to worry about in any sense because there was still enough fuel that you'd have to be going for probably months to years before a gas station runs out. It's still not really something you're likely to bump into unless you survive for a very long time. But for this reason, it's a good idea to mark more than one gas station on your map and maybe hook up 2 or 3 with extra generators. Just set things up so that you're never going to come into a problem at any point. Okay, so that's our fuel needs for the future sorted as well. The only other thing is if you need a little bit of fuel just to get you going and you can't seem to like find any, or the power's already gone off and you can't hook up a generator, you can always check cars as well. So the way to do that is you need, I'll demonstrate it on my vehicle. You need your gas can and you need a hose, which we have back in the base here. I'll go and grab the hose real quick and just demonstrate. You can do this on any car when you're out and about, just to try and, like, you know, just to try and grab what you can. Or is it in the... Oh, it might be in the glove box. I think we might have kept it in the glove box. This is in my inventory already. It is in my... Okay. So, rubber hose. Gas can. Now, I'm going to add the gas that we have. Just to demonstrate here. And then let's say I come across a vehicle. All I need to do is right click it and you'll see siphon gasoline comes up. And as long as you have a funnel and a rubber hose and a gas can, you can drain that gas. And it'll at least give you enough to get going. It's just a bit of a way to get started. And then you can take that small amount of gas, power up the gas station, and collect a lot more. Okay. So we've pretty much got water and gas secured for a good while. Now, if it were up to me, I would maybe say we could build like a couple of different rain collectors. Like having more than one is probably a good idea. Having a couple. But we do also need to think about food as well. So, as you can see, I already have an ice freezer here. This is something that I put in my first series on surviving your first like week of Project Zomboid. You should try, where possible, to have an ice freezer. Okay? These are amazing little tools. They can be picked up. I think they're, I want to say off the top of my head, I want to say they're 30 weight. You can often find these at gas stations. You can often find them in supermarkets. They are an incredible piece of equipment because they have 30 space in 2 slots. So you've got a grand total of 60 frozen space. It can benefit you to have a fridge as well if you have the room, and you'll probably have a fridge just anyway, wherever you pick as a base. But these freezers are going to store vast amounts of foods for a lot longer. Now, the big thing about long-term survival is taking the opportunities that present themselves to you. It's adapting to a situation, right? And there are a lot of different ways to tackle the food problem as a whole. So I have a few options open to me. We could raid a supermarket. We could look for livestock at nearby farms. We could grow crops. We could start with the gathering skills. Whatever we wanted to do. The big thing is making sure that we are prepared to seize an opportunity, right? So, nearby, I have a Gigamart, which is just here. It is literally just up the road from me. So, with that in mind, what we can do, knowing that the power hasn't gone off yet, there's going to be a lot of frozen and refrigerated foods still at this supermarket that will be in usable condition because it hasn't had time to rot yet. 11 days is still quite a while, but I'm willing to bet that at least the frozen food is going to be in decent condition still. So we're going to take a drive up there. There's a lot of zombies nearby, so we'll try and find a little bit of a... If I can, try and find a little bit of a break. A lot of people at Twiggy's too. Now let's see if this is far enough. If you didn't know already, you can just hold down your aim key while you're in a vehicle and just kind of pan your camera around. I think this is going to be far enough for us to get in here safely. It doesn't look like there's any zombies coming in behind us. You can see here, there's a bunch of fridge freezers. You've also got your non-perishables in the shelves here as well. But I'm going to be focusing on the frozen and refrigerated stuff that's still in good condition. And the reason behind that is I know that will go off as soon as the power goes out. It's just a matter of saving what we can while we can. Calories and food has become a much bigger problem in build 42 than what it was in build 41 as well. Keeping on weight, you need to keep weights between 75 and 85 to stay in the mid-range. You go under or over that, you start to have like weight problems, which cause like reductions in stats, basically. Keeping calories on is a much larger problem than it was in build 41. So we're looking for high calorie items. Saving things like meat as well is really good because it's going to help us put on that weight. It's definitely, I think in vanilla, it's definitely very highly tuned right now to needing really fatty foods. I actually think there's probably something to be said that it's probably a little bit overtuned in that sense. And we'll talk about livestock specifically and how we can get around those calorie problems here in maybe the next episode. But for this one, we're just trying to gather some of this food while we can. And I think it's gonna end up being tricky because we're getting a little bit tired now. So I'm hoping that these are the last two between us and the store. But if we have to come back, that's also not a problem. Okay. We definitely need a little sit down. Our muscle strain is kicking in. Again, one thing I usually recommend as well with the muscle strain changes in build 42, it can help sometimes just to try and mix in some stomps with your attacks. Like use your, if they go down on the ground, use your stomps instead of your weapon. It's going to distribute that muscle strain to different parts of the body. But if they don't go down like that sometimes, especially when you're tired, you're going to have trouble with them hitting the deck. It's just unavoidable. It's going to happen. And it's just a matter of just not biting off more than you can chew. Take it slow. Acknowledge that, you know... Okay, good. Well... That was bound to happen to me at some point. We have a bit of a reputation for setting off alarms. And considering we're tired, we're just going to call that straight away a write-off and head back to base. It's not worth us risking that while we're sleepy. Tired as a Moodle can do some incredible damage to a character's stats. You can see all the zombies closing in on the building. But that's also not a terrible thing. So let's go ahead and mark that with a red skull. So we know there's going to be a lot of zombies there from now on. But what I will have done is drew in some zombies from the nearby area. So all of these locations now will have a bit less in the way of zombies. But unfortunately, that plan hasn't panned out for us. Okay? So we need to think about some other forms of food preparation we can do for our long-term survival. Now, one of the best in build 41 was farming. But that's changed quite considerably in build 42 because there are now longer grow times and there are also growing seasons, which was something you didn't have to consider in build 41. To translate, crops take longer to grow and they will only grow at certain times of the year. That's basically how it goes. Now, your average playthrough, I believe, will start in July as default. Okay, so that will tell you what you need to know about planting. Now, we have here several seed packets that I've gathered already in my playthrough. And again, a matter of seizing what opportunities we have, right? So I've gotten lucky enough to find a bunch of seeds already. So I'm going to plant the ones that I think will give us food, right? Actionable food that we can add to meals. So we're talking things like broccoli, cauliflower, onions, potatoes, sweet potatoes. I'm going to take these things. I'm going to take this trowel. We're going to take this watering can. And we're going to go plant some crops. Now, because of these growing seasons that have been added, and how long it takes them to grow now, with it taking more time, you can't rely on farming as a reliable source of constant food. And the other thing that you're going to need to keep in mind as well is that that food isn't going to be high calorie, right? Veggies are not going to be high calorie foods, generally speaking. Which means that essentially this is more of a supplementary method than something we can rely on. It's considered a bonus to our usual, right? It's going to support our food stores. It's not going to give us everything we need. So we're going to need to do other stuff on top of this. But considering we're tired already, this is a good thing we can do because it's in the safety of our base. And it does help you prepare. And if you're wondering why I'm putting 2 spaces between these, it's because if there are 2 spaces between planted crops, any diseases will not spread across 2 tiles. If there are 2 tiles in between, they will not spread. If there are only 1 space across from each other, it can jump. Now, I will say, I am not 100% certain on whether that is still the case in build 42. That was always the reason people did it in build 41. but I will say I'm not 100% on that, so that is something that you may want to fact check. Now, as for growing seasons, you'll get these seeds in packets. You will need to make sure that you have read the packets, or you will not know the growing season. You can see here it says seed packet zucchini teaches zucchini growing season, right? Without that, you will not know. There are also some magazines that will teach you these in batches. We're just going to open up a bunch of these seed packets, because we've already read them. You can see that by the little tick, the little green check mark next to the icons. Now, I think that's all of them. Yep. Okay. Be a broccoli. So, you can see here, the planting seasons for broccoli are March, April, May, June, July, and August. And the best months are April and July. But the poor month is August. So we're getting towards the end of July right now, meaning that we've got a poor month coming up. This might work, but I want to review my other options here. Cauliflower is no good. Planting season is March, April, and May. So we're already past cauliflower. It's not going to be useful to us. The same goes for onions. Unfortunately, the same goes to potatoes. Now, sweet potatoes might work. Planting season July. Best month July. Poor month August. So out of the ones we've got, really, our only options are broccoli and sweet potato. So we're going to go ahead and plant them. Now, formerly you required several seeds per patch. But in build 42, it is now just one seed per tile. Okay, and that's that. That's our crops planted. And obviously, I just need to make sure that we water them. Essentially, all we really need to do. So as long as we make sure we water them, then they will survive. The other thing you can do as well is fertilize them, and fertilizers will increase the yield of your crop patches, basically. Great use for our tainted watering crops. It doesn't need to be clean, so we can take that straight from the rain collectors. And also, I believe we should be able to fill from the troughs, yeah. Which have already been filling in the rain. We don't have any animals right now, so we can use this water. Now, of course, if we're talking efficiency, best time to plant crops is when it's raining, because it means you won't need to spend this time that I am spending watering crops. So if it's possible for you to plant crops while it's raining, I would advise it. Makes things a lot easier. This means you're going to have more time to do other things. And ideally, if it were possible, at your safe house location, it's also a good idea to plant crops in a location where zombies will not be able to access them. They can trample crops. It probably won't be a problem because we're in a quiet area anyway. You know, this area, as you can see, is all been cleared. But if a zombie did decide that it wants to come and walk over my crops, it can trample them. It basically ruins them and makes them unusable. So if your base supports you planting crops elsewhere, then it's a good option. The other thing that we could do is we could use sacks and a trowel or a shovel, spade, and you can actually dig up dirt, put it in a sack, and then move that dirt somewhere else. So we can place it inside the fence line here. And that would allow me to plant crops inside in a protected area. But it's really not going to be... It's not really going to be too much of a problem for us. So, I'm going to place all of these seeds back in my container here. And then I'm going to go grab... I'm going to grab a couple of fertilizer bags. And we can drop these outside for now. We're going to fertilize our crops and we're going to water them. And then I think that is pretty much going to be our preparation on day one. You can see how long this has taken us, and it really sort of enforces how important it is to make these long-term preparations pretty much as soon as you've survived maybe like your first few days or your first week, right? You want to be keeping an eye out for any opportunities that arise while you're looting, and start thinking towards the long term as you're playing. So that when you get to the point where we are now, where we're just over 11 days into the schedule, I've already got water solved for the next, couple of weeks, if not longer. We've already got the gas station hooked up with a fuel supply. And we're already getting to the point where we've got some food coming through. Now, my concern from here is food. And we are going to need to get our hands on some high-calorie foods, because as you can see, I am losing weight. So I think next time, that's what we will target. We will target some high-calorie food opportunities. We'll talk about how you can set those up with various different skills, various different looting opportunities, what we should be looking out for, what foods are worth gathering, worth making. But for now, we know that at least we aren't going to starve, because we've got some food already, and we've already planted some fresh veggies. Something else that's always worth looking out for if you're planting crops. Keep an eye out for farming magazines. Farming magazines can give you a lot of knowledge when it comes to dealing with different types of diseases that your crops may get. So you can get things like, I think it's mildew and flies, stuff like that. Knowing how to deal with those things is very important. There's a really handy little wiki page as well available that will give you all of the treatment types for those different diseases. I believe there is one disease that you can't do anything about, and the name of it eludes me right now. But there is one particular disease that your crops can get that is not curable, and it just means you have to dig up that crop before it spreads to a different one. I will very quickly actually just look that up. It's Devil's Water fungi. So Devil's Water fungi, if your crops get Devil's Water fungi, it cannot be treated, and you essentially just need to dig it up, unlike flies and mildew, which can be treated. So that's something to keep in mind if you're planting crops in Project Zomboid. And with that comes to the end of day one. We're going to take our sleep, and in the next one, we will look at food as a primary thing. We'll look at high calorie foods. We'll look at how to supply your character with the calories they need in order to stay within that weight range that we want to keep them within. Thank you very much for watching. and we'll catch you all in the next one. Okay, so we're back on the second day of this playthrough. Now, we did have I've played a day in between these two episodes just to kind of try and acquire some equipment so I can talk through some stuff a little bit better. But we're going to start off, we're going to be talking about calories, the importance of calories in build 42 compared to build 41, and how to acquire some food sources for the long term. Now, we've already talked about crops in the last one and how it's basically a supplementary measure and can't be relied upon in build 42. As you can see, my character is hungry and I am losing weight. Now, if this falls below 75, I will get an underweight debuff, if you like, in my traits, and it will have negative effects on my statistics. So we want to keep this between 75 and 85. In order to do that, we need calories. High calorie foods are very important and also kind of difficult to find in comparison to most of the other stuff. So what we're going to do, right, I'm taking a simple item, a sandwich, right? We're going to take that simple item and I'm going to attempt to add some stuff to it that will make it more calories for me to consume. So I'm making a ham sandwich straight away, right? Ham sandwich. We're going to add cheese. This is another ingredient that I've got here. Simple. So it's already 25 hunger. It's already going to help with my unhappiness. Now, right here I have mayonnaise, which is worth 3,000 calories. And I will say, eating this whole is not actually as bad of an idea as you might think. As you can see, the boredom and unhappiness stats from downing a bottle of mayonnaise is actually not terrible. So we could do that if we wanted to, and then try and offset it with some, like, reading of books or something like that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some mayonnaise to my sandwich instead. And I'm also going to add some butter, which, as you can see here, is also worth a rather high amount of calories. That was like 2,600 and something before I cut it down there. And also high fat content. So now my ham and cheese sandwich has become something with way more calories in them. We can add some barbecue sauce here. It's also making me happier because of all the things I'm adding to it. We'll get rid of our sadness debuff. It's probably not gonna bump my weight up straight away, but that is a good high calorie option. Okay, and it's just about adding those to your meals wherever you can, right, to try and get the calories up. Now that wasn't enough, so I'm gonna pick a high calorie food from in here that I can consume. So let's see what we've got. So we've got some chips. We'll take a couple of those with us. I've already got one in my bag. Canned corned beef. What do we got in here? There must be something that's a little bit more high calorie for us. Margarine. Now that's one that is going to make me unhappy. Mac and cheese. I think we had cereals, didn't we? I swear I had. Here we go. Cereals. 2,360 calories. So let's get that out of here and let it defrost. That 2,360 calories is going to be amazing for us. Just let it defrost in our bag. I'll have a bag of chips in the meantime. And I will say as well, when you're looting buildings for food, if your weight is going down and you would just be leaving items behind, don't just leave them behind. Eat them. Drink them. You know, if you see a soda when you're looting a store and your calories, you're underweight, you're losing weight, just drink the soda instead of leaving it behind. It's not going to fill your character up, but it's certainly going to add calories. And it's just taking opportunities like that. Again, seizing the opportunities that are there for you. Now, one big thing that we need to think about is long-term food supply. And I think the easiest way for us to do that is to get ourselves a little farm going. as you can see, I've already kind of built myself a chicken coop here. I'll drive past it here in a second. We needed carpentry 3 for the chicken coop. You only need carpentry 1 for the feeding troughs. We've built the slightly larger ones, and that does require level 3. But we have marked some crucial equipment on my map already from earlier in my playthrough. There is a livestock trailer over here. We're going to pick that up, and then we're going to go pick up some chickens. Now, why chickens, firstly? Well, 1, because they're easy to look after, don't require a lot of space, and they supply us with daily eggs. We will gain eggs on a daily basis with chickens. They're also good for meat if we want to, you know, cull off some extra ones, right? But realistically, we're just going to keep them for eggs. That's all we need them for. Turkeys, you might be thinking, will be an option. Unfortunately, turkeys' laying seasons start in spring. I believe they generally go through until about May. And unfortunately for you, if you're on default settings and haven't changed this, your playthrough starts in July. So you would be keeping turkeys for an entire year almost before they start laying their eggs. It's not generally worth keeping them unless you're doing so for meat or for feathers, if you really want to get into some crafting. They're great for meat, but their eggs don't really pay off as far as that goes. So we need to get this trailer, so we're just going to pull this up. I am going to have to probably deal with a couple of zombies in the area just to make sure we don't get swarmed. Now, I already released some turkeys from this trailer earlier. The other option, of course, is if I wanted to, I could cull a couple of these turkeys and take them home with me. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but I could cull them and just take home the carcasses. It is something I could do. I'm not going to worry about it personally. There were also some eggs in the trailer when I first came by this trailer. You'll actually find that's weirdly a thing, is that if you come across turkeys that are in a trailer, they will often have eggs on them. And of course that is quite weird because, well, they wouldn't be laying right now, and they don't if you keep them yourself, but weirdly they appear in trailers. Don't know why that is, but be what it be. Let's see if we can hook this thing up. Want to attach it, there we go, to the step van. Don't know if I have enough room. It's awkward. I think I'm gonna have to sort of nudge the livestock trailer back a little bit. So that our step van is the closest. No. There we go. Oh, okay, well, that's not what I wanted, but it might actually work for us a little bit here. Because it'll allow me to put these in better places. Try this again. I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's fine. Don't worry about that metal crunching sound effect. Although I will say, doesn't seem to want to play ball in terms of physics. It might be stuck in the ground a little bit, which would suck, honestly. Let's see if this is the trailer, because it seems to be sitting a little bit funny. Yeah. The tires are screwed. Let's see if we can reattach this and just see if it wants to play ball. But I think we may have to just go around this. Yeah, no, that's not going to work, is it? Okay. So, we don't have the trailer. That's actually not the end of the world, especially considering we are going out in search of chickens, not anything else. Realistically, we only really need to bring 1 or 2 back with us. It did damage the back of the vehicle, unfortunately, but that's all right. Realistically, we only need to bring back 1 or 2 chickens. Especially, you know, you can do multiple trips if you need to. But I do want to very quickly go out and grab some milk from cows here as well. The chickens, I believe, are there. We're going to talk about cows for a minute because they're also one of the best animals in the game that you can keep. Essentially because they produce milk, and that milk can be turned into butter using a butter churn. Now, butter churns, bring up the building menu real quick. You can make those with 2 planks, nails, and a hammer. Now, I think we have all that material with us. Yep. So we should be able to build one on the go when we get to these cows, and I will actually show you how easy it is to make butter. And obviously butter being so high calorie is great if you're trying to put on weight. And also can just be added to like so many of the foods in the game. Speaking of which, let's eat our cereal. We're just going to eat this whole box. 2,300 calories. And we'll see if that helps us. I have let my character slip quite a bit. There we go. Calorie just like that. Our weight's going up instead of down now. Obviously, we will need to sustain that. But that gives you an idea of how many calories you actually need to fill your character with in order to get the weight going up. It can be quite tricky. It's one of the biggest issues with survival in build 42 right now is calories. And as we talked about earlier, planting crops, you know, those crops just aren't going to be calorie-filled foods. Just not how it's going to work. Which is why finding some animals, getting some actual produce going in that sense is going to really help supplement those calories. Right. So now, I am quite literally going to perform this action while we're on the go, just so that you guys can see this. Obviously, if you're better off building a butter churn at your base, just of course. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to do this here. And if you ever want a quick way to check how many animals are in a zone, just right click on the ground, pull the zone up, and you can see here that we've got 2 animals in this area. Can be handy for tracking down things like smaller animals within a zone. There's just the 2 cows here. So, butter churn. 2 planks, 2 nails, and a hammer. No carpentry skill required for a butter churn. That could change if you're watching this as build 42 gets a bit further along. Now, to make 1 butter, we need 5 litres of cow milk. Leave this. Let's see. We need to make sure we're not going to approach a male. This is a female, so we should be able to milk this female. Hopefully. I don't know, it might not have any young. No, it doesn't seem to have any young right now. Now that's a bull, so we don't want to go near that. So that's actually not going to work out for us, which is a bit of a shame. So essentially what I want is a female that has young. So we need basically a larger field of cows. I can take the butter churn with us, it's not a problem. Hang on, we're gonna have a quick pause here to talk with chat. You guys are saying, are you guys saying that they don't need to be rearing young to make milk? Milking a cow project Zomboid. Cows will generate milk for a certain period after delivering a calf. Okay. Just wanted to check I was in the right there. I'm gonna have a quick look around here just to see if we can find any other cows in the area. But so essentially a cow will only produce milk when it has a calf. So if we can't find a herd that has calf, we're out of luck on that one, unfortunately. Thinking about it, I believe I have some cartons of cow milk back at the base that we can use for our little demonstration, but this is sometimes just how it goes, you know. You lay a plan down and things don't pan out, and I think that's why it's important to know about so many of the different ways to gather food in build 42, because prepping for the long term is difficult sometimes. And not everything's going to work out first time. Now, to give you, since we're out here, we'll have a look at a different way of gathering food that I think is worth mentioning. I do just want to keep an eye on those zombies. Foraging has always been a very, very powerful skill since the foraging system was changed. But farmland especially can be incredibly useful for finding food sources. That can then be paired with the trapping skill to get you even more food. So we're going to forage. You see here, food is common in farmland. So I haven't got any skills in foraging. So whether we'll find anything is up for debate. But once you start to get a couple of levels in it, and the thing with foraging as well is it's very easy to level up in. Dog bane. We'll just pick this up. Big skull. Again, you know, that was 30 XP right there for one item. And our foraging is almost level 1 straight away. It's very, very easy to level foraging. Foraging is one of those skills that, again, I would guess, again, I would consider it more of a supplementary thing. But if you're living in an area with a lot of farmland in Project Zomboid, then you should definitely consider giving it a try if you're looking to get yourself some long-term food supplies. Farmland is just incredibly useful on that, in that respect. Unknown item. Okay, so this is a bit of an Easter egg item. Pack of hot dogs. Look at that. It's a rotten pack of hot dogs, but we found a pack of hot dogs in the middle of a field. Amazing. Not the food I was thinking we'd find. Could be used for fishing bait if we wanted to. If we were interested in doing some fishing anytime soon, rotten foods can be used. Again, we're just doing a loop around here, just checking to see what kind of foods we find. Foraging is one of those skills that as you level it up becomes a hell of a lot more powerful. At level 1 right now, we're going to be, you know, it's not going to have the best results for us, but get to, you know, compare that to, I don't know, level 3 or 4. We would probably be coming up with a fair bit of food quite quickly. And then on top of that, we can then use that for the trapping skill to bring in animals. And one of the key things about the trapping skill in build 42 is that trapping now acquires live animals. So, you know, you could start trapping, use some snare traps or a box trap or whatever you have the ability to make. And you might find that you catch a live rabbit. Or 2. And then you can start a little rabbit farm if you want to. There, you know, there are options available to you. Here we go. Some herbs. Cilantro. And you see there, we picked cilantro. Now, obviously, it's just a herb. It's not really going to give us much in the way of food. But this is a crucial thing. When you go foraging, you will also tend to get seeds with the food that you find. So if you find, like, let's say, I don't know, a potato or an onion or something like that in the wild, you're also going to get seeds with it, which can then be used back at your base to create more food for your long-term efforts. Which just enforces why it can be such a good skill to get into. But it does take a little bit of time just spent foraging around. Now it's coming up to 4 p.m, so I want to head back to the vehicle now. And we're going to get ourselves a chicken. If I can load one into the truck, I might get 2, but I don't think you can do that without a livestock trailer. I don't want to risk these berries. We don't know if they're safe or not, so I'm not gonna risk one of those. If I eat a wrong berry and it's poisonous, well, that's game over. That's all she wrote. So I'd prefer not to take the risk with those. Those chickens have a bit too many zombies around us, so we're going to go to the first set closest to the safe house that I know of. Some pigs. So pigs can make for okay food sources. Honestly, it's another one of those animals that they're not producing anything for you, really. You can get some good leather for crafting, stuff like that. But they're not producing anything for you, really, other than meat. So if you have no other option, pigs can be decent. But personally, I'd go for chickens or cows every day. They will always have a bit more use to them than any other alternatives. Getting a little bit tired, which is not great considering we've got to get to these chickens. But we'll make it work. Ooh. I'm going to question that one. Close call there, but not sure why that didn't hit. Thankfully, I think we're okay. I think it just bit into a piece of my clothing, yeah. Knocked my hat off. We're alright, okay. Might be worth checking those feeding troughs also, see if we can get some food from it. But really, all we need is a chicken. You can carry a chicken. Ooh. Might be some good farming supplies in here, actually. Livestock supplies, perhaps. There's always something to be said as well for just basing next to things like this. There's nothing wrong with just pulling up and basing at a place like this, because honestly, you know, you'd have everything you need on your back porch, really. There is definitely something to be said for basing here. Bellows, that's quite rare. Quite rare indeed. If we were getting into some blacksmithing. So those tarps, we could take those tarps for that we saw in that crate there. I think there were 3 of them. We could take those to rain collectors if we wanted to, but we've got plenty of garbage bags. Right, so I need to identify some. Yep, so this is a female hen. They will do nicely. And we have a hen. I'm going to see if we can put it in the vehicle, but I don't think we can. I think we will just need to take one at a time. And of course, we'd basically just come back and do another run. But the bonus of having this chicken is that it will lay an egg for us every single day. If we wanted young, of course, if we wanted to hatch those chickens, then we could have a male as well. But to be honest, unless you're thinking of having chicks specifically, you could just keep a flock of females. Yeah, so we can't do that. I think it's just going to be... I put them on the seat or not? No. Okay. So we carry the chicken home with us. It shouldn't damage me being overweight while we're sat in a driver's seat. We're going to carry the chicken back. Also, if you end up with fertilized eggs as well, like you have a male, and you don't want that chicken to develop, you just want the egg, right? For food, rather than having lots of little baby chickens. Best thing you can do is throw them in the freezer. Chicken's not going to hatch if the egg's in the freezer. It did when Build 42 first launched and made for some hilarious Reddit posts of chicks being born in freezers. But not anymore. Now it works as intended, and you can just throw them in the freezer to keep them from hatching. Once we get this back to our safe house, we'll talk a little bit before we sleep about how to look after them, and that's pretty simple. That is pretty simple. How we doing over there, chat? Just figured I'll engage with you guys a little bit while we're on the drive back. This probably won't be in the video anyway. How we doing over there? We all good? Strapped in, learning stuff. A little bit disappointed that we didn't get the chance to find a cow that we could milk, but that's all right. I have to pee. When are we there? Shut up, right? I've got an empty water bottle. Use that. Pipe down. Rise on my side of the car. Now, children, behave. Or nobody gets to go to McDonald's on the way home, right? Okay, so pulling up on base again here. Still got our chicken in hand. Let's go introduce it to its new home. Oh, the zombie's gonna follow me in as well. That's gonna be really frustrating. Oh no! Just stack them on the fence instead. I forgot about that new mechanic. Should be fine. We won't need to worry about that for quite some time yet. Okay, so what we're gonna do? Animal zone. We draw this in the area we want the animal to be. Create zone. We can rename that whatever we like. So we'll call this Chimkins. This is now the home of our Chimkins. We drop our red hen. And it will now live in this zone. When we right click on the zone, you can see here, this is now in there. It may be stressed to start with. I'm going to give him a little pet. Make sure they're well looked after. Going to bed. All right, so this is something that's important to keep track of. And as you can see, it's already laid an egg for us. Literally, we've dropped it off It's gone indoors. It's already laid an egg. And that's how useful they can be. I don't know where this zombie is going, or what he's doing with his life. Sir, I need you to not be dead in here, please. Wanna... Thank you. Right. So, a couple of things to bring up about this. This hutch, whether it is open or closed, will not make a difference in an average playthrough. However, there is a sandbox option that will add predators, meta predators, to the game. If you have predators in your playthrough, you need to ensure that at night you are closing the door and opening it again come morning. Otherwise, a predator may get in during the night. Now, you may think that having this on tarmac might be a problem. It's not really an issue as long as there is food in the feeding troughs. I believe one of these has food within it. I think it's filled with water, which is going to make this feeding trough info 0. One of these definitely had food in them. I think it's this one. So I'm going to empty it. Might be bugs. Not sure. Might be bugs because I don't seem to be able to empty this one. But we did have some food in this one, I believe. Weird. But anyway, as long as the chicken is given food and water in one of the troughs, they'll be fine. They'll be happy. Not really an issue. Don't worry about it too much. So all that leaves us to do really is build a gate. I don't think I can actually do, so we'll just do a fence. Again, just as a reminder, to build these troughs, all you need is either level 1 carpentry for the short one or a level 3 for the long one. And for the chicken coop, which is for some reason called a hutch, you will need level 3 carpentry and again just some basic supplies. So nice and easy. Not really that difficult to set up. And now we will have eggs on a constant supply. And again, see, this is the rate. This is one chicken, and it's laid 2 eggs for us already. Now, yes, those eggs aren't going to have a whole bunch of sustenance to them. 7 each. But it's something that you can add to pretty much all meals. Okay. Nice and easy. So again, I'm going to look to make something high in calories if I can. The difficulty with my location as a base here is that we are operating out of a storage bin. So I don't actually have an antique stove. I have a microwave that's hooked up to the power currently. But if you want to avoid using power, or your fuel when the power goes out, you can search for an antique stove. It's like a big old thing, and it will use more traditional fuel sources like wood, things like that instead. Now, this isn't going to make me particularly happy, but these items will cook quickly. So 9 hunger each. Nice and straightforward. And that's, I mean, that's 2 eggs already from 1 chicken. You think if you've got a couple of different chickens, maybe 3 or 4, you're going to be gaining quite a lot each day. And it's really easy to look after them, to take care of them. If animals don't have access to a feeding trough with feed in it, something you may want to consider is placing them on a grass surface. They will eat grass in their zone if their feeder is not filled with food. So they will know at least to consume grass in the area. Can be very helpful if you're going to have like cows, for example. Something else also to consider is if a zombie gets within range of our chickens here, it may stress him out, and they will look to escape. So that's something to keep in mind, and that's why we obviously build these fenced off areas. Any sort of stress caused by zombies, caused by lack of food, anything like that, and they will look for an exit. So having that fence is going to stop them leaving if a zombie shows up. Here we go. Very nice. Okay, full to bursting. Now that wasn't a high calorie food, so we're just keeping our weight steady. And I think that's going to be it for this one. Again, thank you very much for watching. This is episode 2. Hope you guys have enjoyed learning a bit more about how to survive the long term. And I think in the next one, we may talk about some of the survival skills that are available to you that can help support your long-term survival. Thanks, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, so because we weren't able to milk a female cow because they didn't have any offspring, what I've done is I've just spawned a bucket full of cow milk. And I just want to very quickly sort of show how this works. So here's our butter churn here. We've set this up, as you saw in the last video. Because a bucket of milk is 10 liters, we can get 2 sticks of butter. And it does take quite a while to churn. So while butter is an incredibly useful thing, it does take a minute to go through this process. We're going to skip some time here. You can see we're already closing in on like midday. So we'll just do the one. And then from that, we have a stick of butter, which is 3,200 calories. Now, if you've got stuff to make you, shall we say, happy again, you can just eat that as it is. But it is going to make you quite unhappy. You got to make sure you got the right stuff for that. Or you can just add it to meals, which is what I tend to do. Now, so we've covered livestock. We've covered growing crops. And we've covered, like, raiding a gigamart, which unfortunately did not work out for us in this playthrough because it was absolutely swarming with the undead after an alarm went off. So today we're going to look at a couple more options we've got available to us, which is fishing and trapping. So we're going to start with fishing. Quick pause, 1 second. I need to bring up my notes, chats. I probably should have had ready already. Judge me, okay? Don't judge me. Like that. Yeah. Okay, excellent. Got my little notes here now. Fabulous. Paul, thank you for the 29-month subscribe, dude. We've got alerts turned off right now because I'm doing a recording, but I do appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much. Right, jumping back into it. Quick march. So I've already picked out a fishing spot for us to go to today. I have our tackle box. There's our fishing rod, some baits, an extra line, and an extra hook. Now, fishing is quite a time-intensive thing in Build 42. It always has been. Now there's obviously the extra mini-game element to it in Build 42. Whereas in Build 41, if you're unfamiliar, basically you just stood there and let fishing happen. Now there's actually like some skill to it. Now at lower levels, fishing isn't going to be a skill that pays off greatly for you. I do want to just kind of show fishing today, so you know about it, but keep in mind, we don't really have any skills in it, I don't think. Right, so we have 1.5 levels in fishing, so our results aren't going to be great. But as you start to level up the fishing skill, you really do start to see a difference in that. It's one of those skills that if you put the investment in and actually maybe use life and living to get to like level 3 in the early stages, maybe you read a book and do some fishing yourself, you're going to get like some huge payoffs as you start to get those levels. But early on, you will not see much of a payoff. So there should be along here. Along here, we're looking for a little path that will lead us out to the riverside. Might be this. Hopefully these zombies won't follow us the whole way over. Here it is. Now, I'm hoping those zombies won't come the whole way out here. If they do, though, we should be able to take care of most of them. Now, a little known tip about fishing. You actually get better results if you are at least 7 tiles, which is these squares here. You can use the placement and pick up things for this. If you are at least 7 tiles away from land, you will have better fishing results in terms of the size of the fish and also the frequency at which you get a bite. So having one of these pre-built docks is really, really helpful, or you can build one yourself just using wooden floors, and it will support your fishing goals. Okay, so we're going to drop our tackle box. Now, if I was planning on using this spot permanently, what I'd probably suggest doing is building a little wall behind you, just so that you're safe while you're doing fishing. And just to make sure I am actually going to take out a couple of these zombies, I think, just to make sure that I'm not going to get interrupted. And we'll just talk about, like, the extra bonuses of fishing. So you can see on the water to my right, there are like ripples in the water's surface. Those symbolize active fishing spots. Those are the bits we want to aim for. You're most likely to have success there. And just as a quick note as well, in Build 41, we were able to fish with spears. That is no longer available in Build 42. Obviously, because of the new fishing mechanic, how actively involved you are, I guess they just haven't drawn anything up for spear fishing yet. So, yeah. Now, I'm going to grab a fishing line, a fishing hook, and I've got a selection of baits here. Now, rotten food can be used as bait, but otherwise you probably wouldn't use the rotten food, right? You wouldn't get any use from it. So if you want to make use of rotten meats, I believe it is meats specifically. I don't think you can do this with vegetables. It has to be meat. You get rotten meat, then just use it as fishing bait, because otherwise you aren't going to use it. Okay? So, holding right click to aim. Turn the HUD off for this bit. So holding right click to aim, and then I'm just going to left click to cast in wherever I want. So we're going to go, I think we'll go up here. It wants to let me cast in. There we go. It wouldn't let me cast in over there up top for some reason. Might be because it's a little bit too far away for me. We'll try here. Now holding left click will reel it in. So I can do that. We've got something on the line now. All I'm going to do is reel in with left click. And if I get any resistance, I can hold right click to let out. But I probably won't. Let's see. The animation will change if we get a bit of resistance. So I'm just tapping left click. Feathering it, if you will. Easily done. Fishing net. Junk item. So at these low levels, this is probably what we're going to get more of. Our bait is still on the line. So we're good. The bait has not been taken. So let's continue. Right over here. Can I go out that far? I can't really go out far enough. We'll have to keep trying this spot for now. It is possible to overfish an area as well. That is something to keep in mind. If you fish frequently in the same spot, you will overfish it and you'll find that you won't get any bites of actual fish. If that happens, just go away for like 24 hours, give it a day, let it regenerate, and then come back. And I'm just keeping it out of the colored areas of the bar, because if we go in those colored areas, we're likely to see the line break. Okay, so we caught a small bluegill. We actually got a fish. These are going to be really, really small. You can see here, it's only like 2 hunger reduction. Now, that's going to be most of the results you get at this kind of level. So it really is a case of, like, spending some time leveling your fishing. And then hopefully you can build things up a little bit. And at higher levels, you'll see much better results. The problem with fishing, especially right now, is that it's going to be very time intensive for us. If you haven't got your fuel or your water situation sorted, then I would recommend leaving fishing until you have. Because the amount of time this takes, you could be setting up a gas station to give you fuel for when the power goes out, or getting some water sources for when the water mains shut off. If you haven't done that, you're going to be wasting time. So don't do this until you've got those couple of things set up. So we've got no bait on the line. We'll try a different bait this time. We'll just go ahead. And you can use like insects from foraging. You can use worms, which you can either dig up, or you can actually use a composter. And if you put rotten food in a composter, it will promote worms showing up in the composter itself. By a reliable way of getting yourself some fishing bait. Build a composter early. Put some rotten vegetables in there and stuff. Just let those worms build up. Now, another thing to keep in mind about fishing. Obviously, we haven't been able to replicate this right now. But between the hours of 4 a.m. and 7 a.m., or 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., so dawn or dusk, you will see a 20% better chance of catching fish. And that is confirmed as up to date for build 42. So dawn or dusk hours are best for fishing. Another small fish, I think. Yep, sunfish. Even smaller than the other one. Okay, we'll try one more time until this bait has been... Okay, the bait has been used. Let's try a different one. Let's try a worm this time. We'll try one more. I can't actually see my bobber. Bugged? One might have bugged out. Well, there it is. Just popped in. Just place it over the top of that active area there. Wait for the bite. And we haven't actually got any resistance on any of these yet, which is a shame because I did want to kind of show that. But if you do get resistance, your line on the bar there will shoot up into the orange or red areas. You just need to hold right click to give them some slack until they stop fighting. I think this one might be bugged. I'll go ahead and recast, I think. Just let that sit. It's also worth me noting as well as we talk about the best times to fish. Once you reach November, you'll see a 20% reduction of fishing success chance until the end of February. That's to simulate like winter conditions. You aren't going to have to worry about that in an average playthrough for at least a few months, right? Because the average playthrough starts in July. Another small bluegill. So you can see here, we're getting some small fish. We're just not really getting anything worth having. Now, how much XP is that giving us? Not a lot. I think we got about 15 XP off those catches. And I will say that XP gains directly relates to the size of the fish you catch. So if you catch a bigger fish, you'll gain more XP. So at this level, it really is just a case of like random luck, to be honest, until we gain a bit more XP. So if you can watch that Life and Living show in the early stages, especially if you can find a fishing book beforehand, it's going to set you up better for this. But it is a reliable way of getting food. It just takes a lot of time investment. Best to know what you're getting into. Ideally, you'd want a fishing book read before we start here, and you'd want to come back at the dawn or dusk hours we discussed. Make sure you have a regular supply of bait coming in through things like composters or foraging. So now we're going to get back on the road and we're going to go do some trapping. I want to check I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Yeah, I think we covered everything with regards to fishing. Excellent. Okay, we're on to trapping now. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we're just recording like another live commentary guide right now, which is why chat engagement is a bit down at the moment, but I will be coming back to it as soon as we finish. Okay, so trapping. We might need to stop at base on the way back because I need to craft some traps, and I'm hoping we can get them down before dusk starts, but we'll see. Nobody knows at the moment, Pandemonium. Right. Okay, so drop off our fishing supplies. We're going to build some traps. Now, trapping is a very low effort skill. It takes a lot of it doesn't take a lot of like time investment as compared to fishing. It really is just a case of setting things up and then checking on them regularly. So we have some options available to us. Okay, we want to build some traps, and I'm just going to put my game on pause here so we don't waste any time. If we go to the crafting menu, you search for traps, you can see here that there are many different types. There's 4 different types available to us. Now, there is a very, very handy wiki page that I will leave linked in the description of this video that will tell you some really, really helpful stuff around the strength of these traps and how likely they are to catch certain animals. It will also tell you the different baits that you want to choose for different animals. Okay, so we are going to target rabbits as the animal that we want to catch. And the reason for that is because rabbits tend to have the most meat of all the trapped animals. They're also incredibly useful in build 42 because they can be used as livestock. You actually capture them live now, whereas in build 41 you would catch them and they'd already be dead. So now they are live, caught, and you can actually use them as livestock if you wanted to, and breed them for more meat. So they're even better now. Now, the best trap to use is a crate trap as it stands. The reason for that is that they are sturdier. They are sturdier than snare traps, being they have less chance to break. And also, they have a higher chance to catch than box traps. They also have no skill requirement to make them, whereas you can see here, the snare trap, the box trap, and the cage trap all have skill requirements. So as somebody with zero trapping knowledge, these crate traps are the easiest ones to use to catch rabbits. Stick traps only catch birds. Now the caveat to this is that you need to find this magazine, which is the Hunter. This will teach you to make stick traps and crate traps. Okay? So we need to read this, and then we can make the trap that we need. It really does depend on what, what recipes you find. If you can't find the right book to make crate traps, you might be able to find the one to make snare traps, and that's fine. They're just a little bit weaker. Just break a little bit easier. We are going to take, I believe, I don't think we have any carrots. Carrots would be the best bait for rabbits. I think cabbages are also particularly good. We've got to have a look at what bait we have here. And we don't have much. So I'm going to check this wiki page for trapping and see what baits we have that would actually be worth using, and then I can check that against my inventory. So cereal would work, bell peppers, apples, cheese wouldn't work. Lettuce, peaches, tomatoes, and potatoes. I don't know if we have any of those right now, do we? Cherries? Maybe? Okay. So right now, I don't think we have any of the right baits. So, what I'll do, with that in mind, don't think we have any of the right baits. So what I'll do is I will spawn in a couple of bait items just so I can go ahead and demonstrate this. And then we'll continue. Okay, so having spawned myself in a handful of carrots, which is the best bait available for catching rabbits, surprise to nobody, we're going to build some traps and we're going to head out. Now, we really want to try and place these traps. You can only catch them between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. Rabbits are best caught over like dawn and dusk. So we want to try and build those traps before then and get them out there. We might have to go chop down a tree. That's fine. We can do that. Yeah, so we need 3 planks for each one, which means we're going to have to go chop down a tree. We have a hatchet on us. Now I just need a saw. Let's grab our saw. This is in my bag. I know we have one. There it is. We can drop off our fishing supplies while I'm here. Need this magazine anymore. Okay, good. We're coming up on 7 p.m. So ideally, if I had timed this a little bit better, really we would want to be placing our traps right about now. Because at 7 p.m. is when we're able to catch rabbits. And then we need to get out of there, and we'll just check on them in the morning. Morning is generally the best time to check on your traps. So let's go ahead and drop these planks here. I'm hoping our hatchet holds up. I only have the one hatchet right now. I'm hoping to get a couple. Okay, this will do nicely. Right, so let's saw these. Getting a little tired. So we've got to hope that wherever we're going to take these traps, there's not many zombies around. And I do have a kind of an idea as to where I want them to be. We can build 2. I think that would be fine. Now, again, ideally, like, because of how low of a cost these traps are, you could place like a few at once. Get one more log, that'll give us enough for 3. Okay. We gained a little bit of carpentry skill from this while we're working away. Right now, so we can make 3 traps. We're going to do so. And this is basically all it's going to do is increase our chances of catching something. It will mean we need more bait at a time. And this is why it can be best to think about maybe growing some carrots or lettuce or cabbage. All of those things are great to catch rabbits with. Or potatoes, even. And this is what I mean when I say that, or said in the earlier episode, that farming is a great supplementary activity. Right, let's go put these in the van. Watch, we're getting slight damage here. Check that we haven't got heat on. No, okay. We did have to turn debug mode on to spawn those couple of items, but I just want to make sure that we're not cheating unnecessarily. How are our crops doing? Seems to be fine. Water level fine. Yeah. We don't have a lot of knowledge about farming right now, so we're not getting a bunch of information. That's okay. Alright, so it's getting late. We are getting tired, but I'm hoping that we can get these traps down without many issues. Now there should, just over from us, should be a train track. Now, if you're wondering why I'm driving away to place these traps, it's because we need to place them at least 75 tiles away from activity. That includes player activity and zombie activity. Zombies will be drawn to the noise of traps as well if they're in the area. They will destroy traps if they hear them. So I'm going to head out along this railway here. And we're looking for a deep forest biome, at least 75 tiles away. Now, if you're having trouble finding out what is a deep forest biome, then just use the foraging menu. The foraging feature will help you pick those out. So I'm going to go, I think, to about here. Now, we go foraging. I'm in organic forest here. This might not be deep forest, but I think it is. I think organic forest will be fine. So, we're going to place them here. Deep forest is the best, but regular forest works too. So we're going to place our crate traps here. Again, the best times for us to place these traps down is 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. That's when rabbits can be caught. Now, each hour that passes after we place these traps, there is a chance that the trap will break. You don't want to leave them too long before you check on them, because every hour there is a chance that they will break. So what we're going to do is just place all of these down. Doesn't matter how close they are. Doesn't make any difference at all. Then we need our carrots, which will act as our bait. We're going to add carrots as bait to every single one. Just the once. And it doesn't even use that much. We had 5 carrots to start here. And as you can see, we've used 1 and, what, 1 and another. So it's about half a carrot trap. Which is a pretty good return if you're going to catch a rabbit. And then we just leave them. That's it. There needs to be a full hour between when there was activity in the area, if there's a chance for them to catch. Also worth noting that the bait we use has to be fresh. If you are using vegetables as bait, it must be fresh. And it checks every hour to see if that bait is still fresh. That's actually why cereals can be a good bait if you're not planning on checking on things in a while. If you're planning to leave it longer between checking on stuff, cereals can be quite a good one because it's not obviously not going to go out of date. But realistically, you want to be checking on them sort of every morning anyway. Few zombies out here. I think that's because of the hunting trail nearby, but I think these ones are far enough away from our traps that it won't be a problem. If you if you really wanted to check the tile distance from your base, you could just use like the pick up or place commands to have a look. But I'm pretty confident that's at least 75 tiles from where we are. Now we go to sleep. It's getting late, and we will check on our traps in the morning. All right, it is 8:30 in the morning. Now, ideally, if I really wanted to make sure that like I had the most chances of getting a catch, I would have gone and done so at about, or checked on them at about 5 a.m. Because that's the last, 5 a.m. is the last time it can catch something. We're still pretty early, so I don't think this will be an issue. We'll go check on our traps. And the great thing about this as well is that long after you've exhausted food sources in the area, trapping will always work. Trapping will always be a thing you can do. As long as you keep the vegetables flowing for bait, trapping will always be available to you. And what's good about that is that you can then repurpose some of that meat. If it goes off, you can use it as fishing bait, for example, and catch different meat. There's multiple options available to you. It is really just about, as you're seeing in this playthrough firsthand, picking a few things to do and not putting all your eggs in one basket. You know, with really, I wanted to go to that Gigamart, but there was an alarm, it drew too many zombies, so now I'm looking at alternatives. And it's just a matter of picking a few things that might work for you based on your circumstances. We should be coming up on our traps here soon. They are. You can see that two of them have collapsed, which means there is something inside these two traps. So let's have a look. What did we get? We got what looks to be a little raccoon. A baby raccoon. Now, this is live, so we can actually, you know, rehome this. We could start a bit of a... If we wanted to, we could start like a livestock farm. Now, I've made a mistake here, and I've not actually brought a sharp implement with me that I can kill the animal with, which is not great. Not a great demonstration. But you see now, we've checked on it at the right time. There's an animal in the trap. So we're going to let this one go and check on the next one. You can see here, and you can see here, got a little baby raccoon. And we'll give him a little pet. We'll check on our other trap. Hopefully we got a rabbit. Oh no, I think this is a big raccoon, is it? Ah, okay, we caught a large raccoon. This is a fully grown adult. Looks like I feel bad. Maybe we caught the mum and the baby. All right, so we're going to take this back to base. And I'll show you how much meat this will be worth. I feel a little bit of a monster, I'm not going to lie. I feel a little bit of a monster capturing the baby and the mum. And only taking the mum. But we do what we must to survive. If we wanted to, we could take both of these animals. We could have a little livestock pen with them. We could start some breeding off. And that, again, would be a long-term solution to our food problem because, you know, we could stop trapping if we wanted to, eventually. We wouldn't have to do trapping for long because we could start our own livestock pen. Okay, let's pull in here. And I'm going to be incredibly cruel. I'm going to find a knife. Sorry, little raccoon. I think I have to drop the raccoon first. Do I? Sorry, raccoon. I'm sorry. Okay. So. Now, I believe because this is a small animal, we don't need a butchering hook. This is a larger animal, we could use a butchering hook. But just to show you, this is where multiple different elements of build 42 come in, because the butchering skill would be much better if it were higher up. If we had a better butchering skill, we would get better cuts of meat here. But this isn't too bad. Once these have been cooked, they'll probably be worth 10 hunger each. And we got 4 of them. And that's just from one raccoon. You know, you can think if you have like multiple traps available and you're catching rabbits, rabbits will be worth more meat. And we got some unprocessed leather. We can run that through the crafting system as well, but you don't really need to worry about that unless you want to engage with it. So that is trapping and fishing simplified. Hopefully you got something useful from that. This has taught you a little bit more about long-term survival. I think in the next one, we'll take on the Gigamart, and we will try to show you a little bit about prioritizing which foods you want to keep hold of and where to put them once you've got them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so I think the next thing on my list is, I've got 2 things really, is I want to get a composter. I also want to get an old stove or an antique stove. And I think I know where one of those is pretty locally, pretty close by to us. Now, I don't have an axe, so I don't think I can get the wood that I need. Oh no, I do have an axe. Okay, amazing. Right, I'm gonna need that saw again. I thought I didn't have one, but we do. Okay. So we're gonna start off with the composter. Reason for getting these is that it allows us to stockpile fertilizer. So basically, we can make our own fertilizer with the composter. Great thing about that is obviously that then gives us a steady supply to boost our crops that we're farming. Obviously, not as powerful in build 42 as we mentioned in one of the earlier episodes, but if I'm gonna have crops, I might as well have a composter. Pretty easy to make as well. I bring one up here. Carpentry level 3, which we've already got because of our occupation choice. And then we just need a few planks. And that's really it. Now, if I was really sort of min-maxing my day here, I could do this at the evening time when my character's already starting to get tired. Just to reduce the risk that I'm going to be in a fight when I start to get tired. But I'm not too worried about that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I need one more plank, I believe. Let's grab one more. That should give us everything we need. And to make things easier, I'll just build it by our crops here. Now this is going to be empty to start with, and we need to fill this with vegetables. Now, rotten vegetables will create fertilizer in a composter. There is several locations around the map that we can use to aid us in that endeavor. There are some, shall we say, I don't know how you would refer to them, like storage warehouses, silos, whatever you want to call them, where basically farmers have stored their produce in big sacks. So what we're going to do is, now that it's the zombie apocalypse, we are going to hit one of those storage silos. and it will be filled with vegetables. And they won't be rotten yet, but they will be soon. Gonna grab ourselves some chips, wait for those to defrost. So we're gonna head out, we're gonna take the car. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get to one of those early enough, but I do have another thing on my list, and that's the antique stove. That is very close by to our base. We're looking okay on storage. So we're heading to the location of an antique stove nearby. Now, these are usually set locations on the map, so you can use things like the Build 42 online map to find them. Otherwise, they do also spawn in, like, just wooden crates and stuff like that. Usually in, like, little warehouses. There should be a house up here with a little shed next to it. This one. This is the one we want. Okay, looks like I'm safe behind, so let's focus on this one. Get them out of the way. Nice and easy. Any others closing in? Doesn't look like it. There should be an antique stove in here. There it is. Okay. You know what? I can actually just replace my... Do I not have a hacksaw? I was carrying a hacksaw on me. I must have put it away. Okay. Anyway. So, we need a hammer to pick these things up. They are also quite heavy. You'll see here they're 40 encumbrance. So you do kind of have to be prepared to take one of these. And again, as with most heavy items, if you're carrying less than 10 weight in your direct inventory, you will be able to pick one up. If you're struggling, you can drop stuff like your backpack is usually the best way to do it. That's really frustrating. This zombie's just shown up. That's kind of funny, honestly. I didn't know that they did that. If you drop them on the ground, the model just appears. Okay, these zombies are going to be a pain, but I am going to need to get rid of them because I'm not going to be able to pick up that old stove without it. Without these guys gone. Not too worried about these zombies. There are a couple of them, but I think they're going to take a moment. Let's get this thing back to the truck. Okay, there is one. It's okay. Oh, there's not enough space in the truck. I need to clear just a couple of... That'll do. Now I'm carrying too much on my person to pick up the stove, but I should be able to just move it. Okay, stove acquired. Nice and easy. Now we're going to head out and we're going to try and get ourselves some vegetables for our composter. For that, we're going to head to a nearby farming produce storehouse. First, I'm going to check my map. I need to be sure of where it is. One moment, Chasserinos. It's basically out of town. Okay. I think I know where I'm going. So we need to go here. This Brandy Lane, I think, is the one. That's where I need to be. So we got a bit of a drive. So the reason we're acquiring an antique stove, just in case anybody needs a reminder, is because they don't use fuel. They don't use petrol, gas, whatever you want to call it. That means that it's not going to run down our fuel supply by having one. We can chop up firewood, which is really, really handy in the long run because you will want to preserve your fuel over time. Ladies Lane, Raccoon Road. Okay, so we've got a little bit further to go. I really do like that they added the road names in one of the most recent updates. Really, really cool addition. And now as well, when you zoom out on the map, you actually get town names too. So you can see that's West Point, Muldraw, Rosewood. You can only see part of it because I've only discovered part of the map. But I can imagine that being really, really helpful for new players. Those people that don't know what each of the major towns are yet. Very cool new feature. Okay, so it's this road that we want, and I believe it's a left turn after this one here. I think. Yeah, so there's another right turn, and it's basically our first left. Get some food. We're going to need to have a little bit of water as well coming up. So I think it's this one. Yep. And then up here, it should be at the end of this road. It should be at the end of this road. That's McCoy logging. There should just be like a farming storehouse right at the end of here. Here it is. Now, I'm not sure if this is full of fresh produce, but these are the sorts of buildings that you're looking for. They'll look like this. They are long, white buildings usually. They have these big garage doors. and a bunch of crates in them. Hopefully there's no alarm on this one, because that would be my luck. Okay, we're good. Let's check these crates. Here we go. Some rotten carrots. Produce box. Extra small. Here we go. So as you can see, they have large quantities of veggies in them. And because we've already passed quite a bit of time, they're already rotten. Now, ordinarily, that wouldn't be much use to a survivor. But because we have that composter, it basically means we don't need to allocate any of our own food to go rotten. We can use this stuff instead. We got some extra boxes here, but they're all empty. So I'm looking for, primarily, what I want is large ones. Large ones that have produce in them. But really, I can just start grabbing all of this. Because all of these rotten fruits and veg can be used for our composter. So we're going to collect all of this up. And then we'll take it back. The answer to that, Lucy, is I don't remember, but I've included it on an info card in the last video when we were actually, or sorry, in the first episode, I think, when we were doing farming initially. So it's all that's thankfully already been covered, but I don't remember, to be honest. I think it's I want to say it finishes the current growth stage and increases the yield. It has like a chance of increasing the yield. It's like a percentage chance. But if you fertilize it more than once, you do like, basically it has negative effects. If I'm not mistaken. Okay, we got some watermelons as well. Really, really heavy stuff. We got plenty more in here. Let's get some of this back to the truck. Obviously, ideally, what you'd want to do when coming to a location like this is you'd want to have an empty vehicle. But I've obviously doubled this up with one of our other objectives. Now my vehicle is full. You'll also notice that the potatoes we got from in there are still fresh. Just to briefly touch on why that is, potatoes have a longer shelf life, if you like, than pretty much every other vegetable in the game. So when you come to these places, there will often be potatoes that are perfectly good to eat, even though a significant amount of time has passed. Okay, I'm going to take those out of there. I accidentally put stuff on the driver's seat. Just a tip here. Do not put anything on the driver's seat because then you won't be able to get into the driver's seat to drive the vehicle. I did not know that, and somebody came into my chat earlier today and like said that that's what they did, and then they couldn't get into their car. So yeah, just be wary of that one. Ooh, large produce box. Okay, lettuce, nice. If you can manage to get to one of these like very early on in the game as well, like if you get lucky enough to, I don't know, find an ice freezer really early on and you get a vehicle very early as well, these places can make for amazing locations to hit early on. Because this food does not spawn rotten, I don't believe. Much of it is fresh when the game starts. It's just because it's in an unrefrigerated environment, it rots very, very quickly. So if you can get here early enough, it can be very beneficial. Okay, I think this is enough. Since we acquired some potatoes, I guess. Let's go ahead and maybe eat one or two. Eat the potato. Okay. So now we're back to base. We'll go fill up our composter. And once we get back to base as well, I think one other thing that I really want to do is I need to make a chopping block as well so that we can cut some firewood. There was actually a new thing added in build 42, kind of a basic workbench, which allows you to cut logs into firewood, and that firewood allows for a longer burn time in your like antique stoves or campfires. It gives you more burn time than regular logs, and it just takes a little bit of your time to cut them up. How close are we to town? Here we are. So we just go all the way down this street, all the way back to our base. And we've timed that pretty nicely. We are now starting to get drowsy. So we get back to base, we can sleep the night. Then we'll be good. Cool. So many zombies in these residential areas. This is one of the things with the changes to zombie spawning in build 42 as well. Often you'll find like some places completely empty, but the residential zones and the high streets as well will pretty regularly be packed full of zombies. Whoops, sorry. Excuse me. Coming through. Why am I apologizing? He's already dead. Thank you for the prime, Just Away. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. There we are. We're gonna grab our rotten veggies. As many as I can, anyway. Now, this isn't going to give us fertilizer instantly. It does take time to manufacture, to sort of create that compost. Another really nice thing about these composters as well is that not only will they provide us with fertilizer, the rotten food within will actually attract worms as well. So when you come back to your composter occasionally, you'll find that there are worms within it. And the reason why that's so powerful is because then we can use those worms as bait for fishing. Oh, I have an extra rotten watermelon. Let's just, I guess we'll just place that beside it. So it's got 20 weight. We've stocked this thing pretty good. Important to note as well, you can only use, like, if you want to generate fertilizer in a composter, it needs to be fruit and vegetables. It's vegetable content. I don't believe that meat and rotten meats actually generate compost. It only works with produce. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay, I'm gonna drop my backpack right beside the car here. Just so that I don't forget it, but I need to pick up this old stove. For some reason, this is actually kind of a fun piece of trivia, if nothing else. So the old stove in build 41 was known as the antique stove. It was only changed in build 42 to the old stove. Why that was necessary? I don't know, but it's an interesting piece of trivia. It had its name changed in build 42. Right, I don't think I have any room for this. I can put it there. We're gonna have to move some stuff. So for now, let's just go ahead and place this here. Then we can reposition this later. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to look at, and that is the chopping block. So we just need a log and a flint saw. Surely that can be swapped out, no? That doesn't show it can be swapped out for other saws. And that is very weird. I did not realize that was the case. So how do we make a flint saw? I need napping level 3. Right, well, in that case, we're not going to have a chopping block in this playthrough. I can maybe use the debug mode to create one further up, but essentially it allows you to chop wood, and that wood will burn for longer than regular wood, and it just allows you to stock up your antique stove so it burns for longer in a single use. But for now, let's get some sleep. Okay, so having had a bit more of a look into this, I believe that the chopping block is actually bugged slightly. So it should show that this is replaceable by other items in the UI. But now that I've picked up a hacksaw, it is showing as I have the necessary item. It should show that I can click on this and see what other items are viable, but it's not allowing that. So I think this might be bugged. But on the bright side, that will allow us to make our chopping block. So let's see if we can go ahead and do that. We've got a log just around the corner up here. So let's see, will it come up? Yeah, okay. So now it allows me to use the hacksaw. Okay. Weird. I'm not sure why that was doing that. Build 42 beta things. Like our chicken's fairly happy. Out and about. We should check on whether we have any eggs. We probably have a bunch. It's been a day or two, I think. Let's get this chopping block set up first before we worry about anything else. And then I think maybe the next thing on my list will be to hit that Gigamart that we activated earlier. I'm kind of hoping that, you know, having left it a few days, it will be relatively clear now. Those zombies might have dispersed a little bit, and I kind of want to go back there and see if that's the case. Now, chopping block. So, this is a workbench, meaning that you need to right-click on it to interact. And as you can see, a bunch of stuff comes up here. Really, really overwhelming. But what we're looking for is firewood. So as you can see, one log gets separated into 6 firewood and wood splinters. I believe the wood splinters can be used as tinder. I think, if I'm not mistaken. But crucially, this firewood will burn longer than anything else. So really, really good workbench to have if you're using an old stove. All right.